Welcome to a new story with us here at Dusk and Tales. Before we begin our journey tonight, I want you to take a moment, just for yourself. A moment to let go of everything that's been weighing on you, the day that's passed, the worries about tomorrow, all of it can wait. Find a comfortable position. If you're lying down, let your body sink deeper into the mattress. Feel it supporting you, every muscle, every joint. If you're sitting, settle back. Let the chair hold you. You don't need to hold yourself up anymore. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Hold it for just a moment. Now let it go. Feel the tension leaving with it. Another breath. Slower this time. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw relax. You might be carrying tension there without even realizing it. If you'd like, dim the lights around you or turn them off completely. Let the darkness become a comfort, a soft boundary between you and the world outside, a space that belongs only to you. For the next few hours, nothing else matters. Your phone can wait, your responsibilities can wait, the endless list of things you need to do, all of it will still be there tomorrow. But this time, right now, this belongs to you alone. Close your eyes if that feels right, or let them rest, half open, focused on nothing in particular. There's no wrong way to do this. Just be here, present, breathing. Tonight we're going on a journey together, not one that requires anything from you. You don't need to remember details. You don't need to stay alert. In fact, the opposite. Let yourself drift. Let the story wash over you like waves. If you fall asleep, perfect. That's exactly what should happen. We're traveling to ancient Greece, to a time when gods walked the earth and heroes shaped destiny, to an age of wooden ships and wine-dark seas, to a world where the journey home could take a lifetime. Our story follows a man named Odysseus, king of Ithaca, hero of Troy, a man who spent 10 years fighting a war and 10 more years trying to find his way back to the people he loved. But this isn't a story about battles. It's not about glory or triumph. It's about something quieter, something deeper. It's about endurance, about holding on to hope when everything conspires to destroy it, about remembering who you are when the whole world seems designed to make you forget. Let yourself settle even deeper now. Feel your breathing slow. Feel your thoughts beginning to quiet. The story will carry you. You don't need to do anything but listen. And if you drift away, if sleep finds you before the story ends, that's perfect. That's exactly what's meant to happen. The story begins not with a beginning, but with an ending. Troy has fallen. 10 years. 10 years of war on foreign soil. 10 years of watching friends die. Of killing men whose names you never learned. Of wondering if the cause was ever worth the cost. The great city of Troy, which stood impregnable for a decade, finally lies in ruins. Smoke rises from what were once magnificent walls. The screams have faded. The battle is over. The Greeks have won. Odysseus stands among the wreckage. He is 40 years old now. He was 30 when he left home, 30 when he kissed his wife goodbye, when he held his infant son for the first and only time. That baby is 10 years old now, a boy, growing up without a father. Around him his men prepare the ships. They're loading them with treasure, gold torn from broken palaces, silver cups, precious fabrics, the spoils of victory, things that mean nothing to Odysseus. He wants only one thing, to go home. The wind fills the sails. It's a good wind, a strong wind, the kind that promises swift passage. 2 weeks, maybe 3 if they're unlucky, and he'll see Ithaca again. He'll walk up the path to his palace. He'll see Penelope standing in the doorway. He'll meet his son as a father should, present, real, finally home. The ships pull away from Troy. Behind them, the city burns. No one looks back. There's nothing left to see, nothing worth remembering. The sea stretches before them, endless and blue, beautiful, indifferent to the suffering on its shores. The waves rock the ships gently. The men begin to relax, to laugh, to tell jokes. The war is over. They're going home. What could go wrong? Odysseus stands at the prow. He doesn't join the laughter. Something in him stays tense, alert. He's survived 10 years of war by trusting his instincts, and his instincts now are screaming that the journey isn't over, that the hard part hasn't even begun. He's right. The first island appears on the 3rd day. A small settlement, coastal people, farmers, and fishermen, the Cicones, allies of Troy. But Troy is gone now. What threat could they possibly pose? Odysseus wants to sail past, to keep going, but his men are restless. 10 years of war has made them hard, made them hungry for easy victories. They see the settlement, they see undefended shores, they see opportunity. Against his better judgment, Odysseus allows them to land. The raid is quick, too quick. The Cicones are unprepared, peaceful. They put up minimal resistance. The Greeks take what they want. Food, wine, more gold to add to their already heavy ships. They celebrate on the beach, breaking open barrels of wine, laughing about how easy it all was. Odysseus tells them to stop, to get back on the ships, to leave now before reinforcements arrive. but his men are drunk, celebrating. They've survived Troy. They've survived 10 years of hell. Why shouldn't they enjoy this small victory? So they stay, they drink, they feast on stolen food, and they ignore their captain's warnings. The Cicones return at dawn. They come in numbers, hundreds of them, armed, organized, furious at what's been done to their home. They come for vengeance. The battle is brief and brutal. The Greeks are drunk, disorganized. They stumble for weapons, for shields. Many die before they even understand they're under attack. 72 men fall on that beach. 72 of Odysseus's crew, men who survived a decade of war, who survived Troy itself, cut down for nothing more than greed and wine and a few hours of celebration. The survivors flee to the ships. They row hard, desperate. Behind them, the Cicones throw spears, shoot arrows, but the ships pull away, out of range, into open water. The celebration is over. Silence settles over the fleet. 72 empty spaces where men used to sit. 72 families back in Greece who will never see their fathers, their sons, their brothers again. Odysseus says nothing. What is there to say, he warned them. They didn't listen, and now good men are dead. He stands at the prow and watches the island of the Cicones disappear behind them. The first mistake, the first price paid. He hopes it will be the last. It won't be. The wind that had been so favorable turns, changes direction, grows stronger. Within hours, a storm rises. Not a natural storm. There's something wrong about it, something too purposeful, as if the gods themselves are angry. For 9 days, the storm drives them, 9 days of massive waves and howling wind and darkness so complete you can't see your hand in front of your face. The men cling to their oars, to the masts, to anything solid. Several are washed overboard, their screams swallowed instantly by thunder and crashing water. Odysseus ties himself to the steering oar. He refuses to let go, refuses to abandon his post. For 9 days he doesn't sleep, doesn't eat, just holds on, guiding the ships through chaos, through waves that should capsize them, but somehow don't. On the 10th day, the storm breaks. As suddenly as it began, it ends. The wind dies, the sea calms, the sun emerges from behind clouds. The men look around, count themselves. More are missing, not many. Perhaps a dozen swept away during the storm, but still, more losses, more empty spaces. They find themselves approaching land, an island, lush and green, beautiful. After 10 days of terror, it looks like paradise. The ships pull into a natural harbor. The men stumble onto the beach, their legs shaking, grateful to feel solid ground, grateful to be alive. People emerge from the trees, friendly, smiling. They carry food, strange food, flowers, lotus flowers, white petals with dark centers. They offer them to the Greeks, a gesture of hospitality, of welcome. Some of the men eat. How can they refuse? They're starving, exhausted, and the flowers smell sweet, taste sweet, like nothing they've ever experienced before. Within minutes, everything changes. The men who ate the lotus sit down on the beach. Their faces relax into dreamy smiles. They stare at nothing, at everything. They seem perfectly content, perfectly happy, perfectly unconcerned with anything beyond this moment. Odysseus tries to talk to them. We need to go. We need to get back on the ships. They smile at him, vacant, peaceful. Why would we go anywhere? We're happy here. We're going home, to Ithaca, to your families. Home. One of them laughs, not cruelly, just confused by the concept. This is home. This is paradise. Why would we ever leave paradise? Odysseus tries reason. It doesn't work. He tries commands. They ignore him. He tries physical force, grabbing one man by the arm, trying to drag him back to the ships. The man fights, weakly, like a child being pulled away from a favorite toy. Please, he begs, just let me stay. Just let me eat one more flower, one more. Then I'll go, I promise. But they won't go, not willingly. The lotus has erased something fundamental, erased purpose, erased desire for anything beyond immediate pleasure, erased memory of home. In the end, Odysseus has them bound, tied to the rowing benches. They cry the whole time, actual tears streaming down their faces. They beg, they plead, they curse Odysseus for being cruel, for not understanding, for denying them paradise. The ships leave the island of the lotus eaters. Behind them, the friendly people wave, still smiling, still offering flowers to anyone who wants them, forever trapped in their eternal present, forever happy, forever lost. For days after, the men who ate the flower weep. They're tied to their benches, forced to row, forced to participate in a journey they no longer want or understand. They curse Odysseus, call him a monster, a tyrant. Why would he save them from happiness? But slowly, very slowly, the lotus fades from their systems. Memory begins to return. They start to remember why they're sailing. Start to remember families, homes, lives that matter. One by one they thank Odysseus, quietly, ashamed of what they said, of what they wanted, of how close they came to throwing everything away. Odysseus accepts their thanks with silence. He understands. He was tempted too. For a moment, watching them smile on that beach, he wondered what it would be like to forget, to let go of the weight he's carried for 10 years, to just stop trying. But he didn't eat the flower, couldn't, because somewhere on a small island, a woman is waiting, a boy is growing up, and forgetting them would be worse than any death. The ships sail on, the men row, the sea carries them forward, always forward, toward home, or toward whatever comes next. Days pass, the sea remains calm, too calm, no wind. The men must row constantly, their hands blister, their backs ache. They take turns, 4 hours rowing, 4 hours rest, an endless cycle. Odysseus watches the horizon. Something still feels wrong. They should have seen more islands by now, should have recognized some landmark, some indication of where they are. But there's nothing, just endless water and empty sky, as if they've sailed off the edge of known world into some place where geography doesn't work the way it should. Then finally, land. An island rising from the sea, large, mountainous, green valleys, smoke from cooking fires, signs of civilization. But something about it makes Odysseus uneasy. The scale is wrong. The mountains too large, the trees too tall. Everything seems built for creatures larger than men. They approach cautiously. There's a massive cave visible from the water, set into a cliff face, large enough to shelter all 12 ships if needed. But Odysseus can't shake the feeling that it's not a shelter, it's a mouth, waiting. He makes a decision. The fleet will anchor in a hidden cove, out of sight. He'll take one ship, his best 12 men. They'll investigate, the others wait. The men row to shore, pull the ship onto the beach, approach the cave carefully, weapons drawn, ready for anything, except what they find. The cave is enormous, impossibly large. The ceiling disappears into shadow, and it's clearly inhabited. Giant wheels of cheese sit stacked along the walls, each one larger than a man, taller, heavier. Pens full of sheep and goats fill one section, but these aren't normal animals. They're huge. The smallest sheep larger than any Odysseus has ever seen. Everything is clean, organized. This isn't the lair of a monster. It's a home. Someone lives here. Someone who tends these animals, makes this cheese, maintains this space. Someone very large. The men want to take the cheese and run. It's right there. Enough food to last weeks. Why risk meeting whoever lives here? But Odysseus is curious. Who builds a home like this? What kind of creature tends flocks this size? He's spent 10 years fighting a war. He's not afraid of meeting another warrior, even a large one. So they wait, hidden behind the massive cheese wheels, waiting to see who comes home. The ground begins to shake, rhythmic, heavy, footsteps, but not human footsteps. Each one sends tremors through the stone floor. Each one sounds like a boulder rolling down a mountain, getting closer, closer. The creature enters. Odysseus has seen many things in his life. Seen warriors 10 feet tall, seen champions who seem more than human, but this is something else entirely. A cyclops, a giant, 20 feet tall, maybe more. It's hard to judge scale when you're looking up that far. Skin like weathered leather, muscle like twisted rope, hair wild and matted, hands larger than shields, and in the center of his forehead, a single eye, massive, rolling in its socket as he surveys his cave, a bloodshot yellowed eye that seems to see everything. The Cyclops drives his flock inside, hundreds of sheep and goats, all of them bleating, all of them enormous. Then he lifts a boulder, a stone that would take 50 men to move, and rolls it across the cave entrance like a man closing a door. The sound of stone grinding against stone echoes through the cave, final, absolute. They're trapped. The Cyclops hasn't seen them yet. He's busy with his evening routine, milking his goats. The sound of milk hitting wooden buckets fills the cave. He sings to himself, not words, just a deep rumbling that might be music, might be contentment. It's hard to tell. He lights a fire, massive logs thrown into a pit. Flames roar up, filling the cave with flickering orange light. That's when he sees them. The singing stops. The single eye fixes on the Greeks, hidden poorly behind cheese wheels. 12 men, tiny, insignificant. Little men, the Cyclops rumbles. His voice sounds like rocks grinding together, like distant thunder. Little men in my cave eating my cheese. He's not angry, not yet, just curious, surprised, as if he's found mice in his pantry. Odysseus steps forward, his heart pounding, but he keeps his voice steady, calm. He knows diplomacy, knows how to talk to powerful beings. Great one, he says, we are Greeks, returning from Troy. We've been blown off course by storms. We mean no disrespect. We're simply travelers in need of rest. The Cyclops tilts his head. The eye narrows. Greeks. Troy. He seems to consider this. I've heard of Troy. Heard it fell. Heard many men died there. Yes, the war is over. We're going home. Home. The Cyclops laughs, a terrible sound, like boulders rolling downhill. And you stopped here, in my home, uninvited, eating my food. We invoke the law of Zeus, Odysseus says quickly, the sacred law of hospitality. Even strangers must be treated with kindness, fed and sheltered. Zeus himself demands it. The Cyclops laughs harder, louder. The sound fills the cave, echoes off the stone walls. Zeus, he finally says, You think Zeus has power here? You think the gods care about this island? We are Cyclops, children of Poseidon. We answer to no one, not Zeus, not any god. We make our own laws here. He reaches out, faster than something that large should be able to move. His hand closes around two of Odysseus's men, one in each massive fist. They scream, struggle, their weapons fall uselessly from their hands. The law here, the Cyclops says calmly, is that I eat whoever enters my cave. That's my hospitality. He lifts the men. They're still screaming, still trying to fight. Then he dashes their heads against the stone floor. The sound, dear gods, the sound, like melons splitting, wet, final. The screaming stops instantly. The remaining men freeze, horror etched on their faces, unable to process what they're seeing, what they're about to see. The Cyclops eats. Odysseus wants to look away, should look away, but he can't. He watches every terrible moment, because if he looks away, it means his men died alone, unwatched, unmourned. When the Cyclops is finished, he lies down by his fire, content, satisfied. He closes his single eye and falls asleep, his breathing deep and regular, snoring like distant thunder. 10 men remain, huddled in the darkness, trembling. Some are crying, others stare at nothing, broken by what they've witnessed. One of them whispers, "We should kill him now, while he sleeps. Drive our swords into that eye, make him suffer." Odysseus grabs the man's arm. And then what? Look at the boulder blocking the entrance. Even if we kill him, we'll never move that stone. We'll die here, slowly starving next to his corpse. Then what do we do? We survive, Odysseus says. We endure and we plan. The night passes slowly. None of them sleep. They sit in darkness, listening to the Cyclops breathe, listening to the sheep settle, listening to their own hearts pound. Morning comes. Light creeps through cracks around the boulder. The Cyclops wakes, stretches, yawns, his mouth large enough to swallow a man whole. He milks his goats again, the same routine, as if the previous night never happened, as if 2 men didn't die in this cave. Then he reaches out, grabs 2 more men for breakfast. The screaming starts again and ends just as quickly. 8 men remain. The Cyclops rolls the boulder aside, just enough for his flock to exit. The sheep and goats file out. Heading to pasture, the Cyclops follows them. The boulder grinds back into place behind him. Silence in the cave, broken only by quiet sobbing. Odysseus forces himself to move, to think. They have hours before the Cyclops returns, hours to plan, hours to find a solution. He searches the cave, looking for anything useful, any weapon, any tool. In the corner he finds it, a massive stake of olive wood, as thick as a ship's mast, as tall. The Cyclops probably uses it as a walking staff, a club, something to lean on. But Odysseus sees something else, sees possibility. Help me, he tells his men. We're going to sharpen this. Make it a spear, the largest spear ever made. They work all day, sharpening the end to a fine point, hardening it in the Cyclops' own fire, hiding it beneath hay when they're done. Evening comes, the boulder moves, the flock returns, the Cyclops returns. 2 more men die for dinner. 6 remain. But this time Odysseus has something, a skin of wine, strong, dark wine they brought from Troy, the kind of wine that could drop a grown man after a single cup. He approaches the Cyclops as the giant eats. Great one, Odysseus says, I have a gift, to apologize for trespassing, to show respect. The Cyclops pauses, looks down at him, curious. A gift? Odysseus holds up the wineskin. Wine, the finest wine in all of Greece. From Troy itself, a taste of victory. The Cyclops takes it. The wineskin looks tiny in his massive hand. He unstoppers it, drinks. His single eye widens. He's never tasted anything like this. Never known wine could be this good. He drinks more and more. The wineskin empties. More, he demands. That's all I have, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. The Cyclops is already drunk, his movements slower, his eyes struggling to focus. Wine that strong should have killed him, should have stopped his heart. But he's too large, too powerful. It just makes him drunk. What is your name, little man? The Cyclops slurs. Tell me, so I can give you a gift in return. It's only fair. Odysseus smiles, a cold smile, a smile that knows exactly what it's doing. My name, he says clearly, is Nobody. I am Nobody, son of Nobody. The Cyclops laughs, drunk, happy. Then here is my gift, Nobody. I will eat you last, after all your friends. That's my kindness. That's what you get for the wine. He drinks more. His head sways, his eye droops. Finally, with a last rumbling laugh, he collapses, unconscious, snoring, vulnerable. Odysseus gives the signal. The men move quickly, quietly. They retrieve the sharpened stake from its hiding place. They heat the point in the fire until it glows, red, then orange, then almost white with heat. Together, all 6 of them lifting as one, they carry it toward the sleeping giant. Aim for the eye, Odysseus whispers. One chance, make it count. They drive the burning stake into the Cyclops' single eye. The shriek that follows isn't quite human, isn't quite animal. It's something primal, something that's never known pain until this exact moment. the sound of a god's child learning what agony means. The Cyclops thrashes. His hands go to his face, to the stake buried in his eye. He pulls it out. Fluid runs down his cheeks, dark, thick. The eye, or what's left of it, is ruined, destroyed. He's blind. "Help!" he screams, his voice echoing out of the cave, carrying across the island. "Brothers, help me. I'm murdered. I'm dying." Other voices answer, other cyclopes, gathering outside the cave. "Who attacks you, Polyphemus? Who dares?" "Nobody," Polyphemus howls. "Nobody is killing me. Nobody has blinded me. Nobody is here." Silence from outside. Then laughter, confused laughter. "If nobody is hurting you," one voice calls back, "then why are you screaming? You're having nightmares, brother. Go back to sleep." The other Cyclops leave, their footsteps fading, abandoning Polyphemus to his suffering. The blind Cyclops staggers toward the boulder, rolls it aside, but he doesn't leave. Instead, he sits by the entrance, hands outstretched, feeling the air, waiting. "I'll feel you when you try to escape," he snarls into the darkness. "I'll catch you. I'll tear you apart. I'll make your death's last days." But Odysseus has one more trick, one final gambit. The sheep are waiting to go outside, to reach their morning pasture. Large sheep with thick wool, thick enough to hide beneath. He and his men tie themselves under the largest rams, clinging to the wool, hanging suspended beneath the animals' bellies, heart pounding, barely breathing. Morning comes. The sheep file toward the exit, one by one, and Polyphemus runs his hands over each one, feeling their backs, their sides, checking for escaping men. He feels only wool and muscle, not the men hiding underneath. 5 escape, then the 6th, then Odysseus goes last, tied beneath the largest ram, Polyphemus's favorite. The Cyclops' hands linger on the animal, stroking its wool, his ruined eye weeping fluid. "My friend," Polyphemus murmurs, "why do you leave last today? Usually you lead the flock. Are you sad? Sad that your master has been hurt? Do you wish you could tell me where the men are hiding?" The hands move over the ram's back, over its sides, nearly touching Odysseus, nearly discovering him. Then they pull away. The ram walks forward, out into sunlight. Odysseus waits until they're far from the cave. Then he drops from beneath the ram, runs, all 6 of them running, back to the beach, back to the ship. Behind them, they hear Polyphemus finally realize, his roar of rage echoing across the island. They reach the ship, push it into the water, row hard, desperate, the shore falling away behind them. They're safe, they're alive, they escaped. Odysseus stands at the prow, his men row, Behind them, Polyphemus stumbles to the water's edge, blind, groping, unable to see where they are. And Odysseus makes the biggest mistake of his life. Pride. Foolish, terrible pride. He calls out, his voice carrying across the water, "Cyclops, if anyone asks who blinded you, tell them it was Odysseus, king of Ithaca, son of Laertes. Tell them it was I who took your sight." Silence. Then Polyphemus lifts his arms to the sky, his ruined face turned toward heaven. "Poseidon," he screams, "Father, hear me. Odysseus of Ithaca has blinded your son. Let him wander. Let him lose his ships. Let him lose his men. Let him suffer as I suffer. And if he ever reaches home, let it be alone. Let it be broken. Let it be too late." The words echo across the water, across the sky. The sea god hears and answers. A wave rises, massive, unnatural. It lifts Polyphemus's reaching hand, lifts his curse. And from that moment forward, everything changes. The curse is real. The gods are listening. And Odysseus's journey home has only just begun. The wind changes, not gradually, not the way wind normally shifts as weather patterns move across the sea. This is instant, absolute. One moment, they have a favorable breeze filling their sails. The next, it dies completely. The sails go slack, hanging limp like dead things. Then the new wind comes from the wrong direction, cold, pushing them backward, away from home, away from Ithaca. The men row against it for hours, for days, their muscles screaming, their hands bleeding, but they make no progress. It's as if the sea itself has turned against them, as if Poseidon's curse wasn't just words, it was a promise. Odysseus stands at the prow, silent. His men don't speak to him. They know what he did, know that his pride, his need to claim credit for blinding the Cyclops, has doomed them all. But they don't abandon him, don't mutiny, because where would they go? What would they do? Odysseus is still their captain, still the man who survived Troy, still the cleverest among them. If anyone can find a way through this, it's him. They hope. Weeks pass. The provisions they took from Troy are running low. The men grow gaunt, desperate. They catch fish when they can, ration the remaining bread, drink rainwater collected in barrels, survive. Then impossibly an island appears, rising from the sea like a dream, like a mirage that turns out to be real. But this island is different from the others. It floats, actually floats, hovering above the water on a cushion of cloud. A palace of bronze and gold sits atop it, gleaming in the sunlight. Music drifts down, laughter, the sound of people who have never known suffering. Aeolus's island, the home of the keeper of the winds. The ships make landfall, or what passes for landfall when the island floats. They anchor to bronze posts driven into the clouds themselves, solid enough, real enough. Aeolus greets them at his gates, an immortal man, not quite a god, not quite human, something in between, blessed or cursed, with eternal life and power over the very air. He's friendly, genuinely friendly, not the false hospitality of the lotus eaters, not the dangerous curiosity of the Cyclops, just kindness, real kindness. Odysseus, he says warmly, hero of Troy, I've heard of you. Welcome to my home. You and your men look exhausted. Come, rest, eat, stay as long as you need. They do. For 30 days they feast in the floating palace. They eat food that seems to appear from nowhere, drink wine that never runs out, sleep in beds soft as clouds, tell stories of the war, of Troy, of battles won and lost. Aeolus has 6 sons and 6 daughters, all of them married to each other, a strange arrangement, but they seem happy, content in their floating paradise. They listen to Odysseus' stories with wide eyes. They've never left this island, never experienced war or suffering or loss. The tales of Troy are like myths to them, unreal, fascinating. During the days, Odysseus walks the floating gardens, tries to relax, tries to let go of the tension he's carried for so long, but he can't. Not fully, because he knows this isn't home. This is just another delay, another island between him and Ithaca. Penelope feels more distant than ever. Her face in his memory grows hazier. He tries to hold on to it, to remember exactly how she looked, the color of her eyes, the sound of her laugh. But 10 years is a long time. Memories fade, blur, become uncertain. On the 30th day, Odysseus tells Aeolus they must leave, must continue their journey home. Aeolus nods. He expected this. I have a gift for you, he says, something to ensure you reach Ithaca. He produces a leather bag, large, tightly sewn, sealed with silver wire. It seems to pulse, to move, as if something alive is trapped inside. In this bag, Aeolus explains, I've imprisoned all the winds that would blow you off course, the westerlies, the northerlies, the storms, every breeze that might drive you away from home, all trapped, sealed, powerless. And what about the wind to take us home? The gentle east wind remains free. It will fill your sails, carry you straight to Ithaca. With this gift you cannot fail, cannot be blown off course. The journey should take 9 days, 10 at most. Odysseus accepts the bag. It's heavier than it looks. He can feel the winds inside, pressing against the leather, wanting to escape, wanting to blow. Thank you, he says. This is more than generous, more than I deserve. You've suffered enough, Aeolus replies gently. The gods should show mercy sometimes, even to mortals who anger them. Go home, Odysseus. Go home and find peace. The ship sets sail. The east wind fills the sails immediately, gentle, constant, perfect. The island of Aeolus disappears behind them. The sea stretches ahead, and for the first time since leaving Troy, Odysseus allows himself to hope. The bag sits by the mast, tied securely. Odysseus keeps it close, watches it. He doesn't tell his men what's inside, doesn't explain, just tells them not to touch it, not to open it, not for any reason. For 9 days they sail, perfect weather, perfect winds. The ships make incredible progress, day after day, moving steadily eastward toward home, toward Ithaca. Odysseus doesn't sleep, can't sleep. He stands at the steering oar, guiding the ship, watching the horizon, watching for the first glimpse of his island. His men beg him to rest, to let someone else take the oar for a few hours, but he refuses. Not yet. Not until he can see Ithaca. Not until he knows they're truly going to make it. On the 10th day he sees it. There, on the horizon, a small island, the right shape, the right size, smoke rising from cooking fires. Ithaca, his home, right there. Close enough to see, close enough to almost hear voices on the shore. Finally, Odysseus allows himself to sleep, just for a few hours, just to rest his eyes. They're so close now. Nothing can go wrong. He closes his eyes, lets exhaustion claim him, falls into deep, dreamless sleep. And his men, his foolish, curious, doomed men, look at the leather bag. It's been sitting there for 10 days, tied by the mast, guarded by Odysseus like it contains something precious, something valuable. He won't let anyone touch it, won't explain what's inside. They've been watching him, watching how carefully he guards it. There must be treasure in there. Gold from Aeolus, silver, gems. Something Odysseus doesn't want to share with his crew. They deserve a share, don't they? They've suffered too, lost friends too, fought at Troy too. Why should Odysseus keep all the treasure for himself? One man speaks the thought there, all thinking, what if we just looked, just to see what's inside? We won't take anything, just look. Another nods. He's asleep. He'll never know. We'll tie it back up exactly how it was. They convince themselves, justified. They're not stealing, they're not betraying their captain, they're just curious. That's all. Just curious. One of them cuts the silver wire. The bag opens. The winds explode. All of them at once. Westerlies, northerlies, storms, hurricanes, everything Iolaus trapped, everything that would blow them off course, roaring out in a single instant. The ships are lifted, spun, thrown across the water like toys. Men scream, cling to whatever they can grab. The masts crack, sails tear. The neat formation they've maintained for 10 days dissolves into chaos. Odysseus wakes to nightmare, to his men screaming, to the ship being tossed like driftwood, to seeing Ithaca, his home right there, so close he could almost swim to it, shrinking, growing distant, disappearing behind them as the wind drives them backward, backward, across all the distance they traveled. He doesn't scream, doesn't shout, just stands at the prow and watches his home disappear again, watches 9 days of perfect sailing undone in minutes. The storm rages for days. When it finally ends, they find themselves back where they started, back at Aeolus's floating island. The men are ashamed. They can't look at Odysseus, can't look at each other. They've destroyed everything, thrown away the perfect gift. They're back at the beginning. Odysseus doesn't speak to them, doesn't assign blame. What would be the point? The damage is done. The winds are free. Ithaca is gone. He climbs the path to Aeolus's palace alone this time, his men too ashamed to follow. He finds the king of the winds in the same hall, the same seat, as if no time has passed, as if Odysseus never left. But Aeolus's expression is different. Where before there was warmth, now there's only cold understanding. "You're back," Aeolus says, not a question, a statement, flat, disappointed. The bag was opened, the winds escaped. I know what you need," Aeolus interrupts. "You need me to trap them again, to give you another chance, another perfect journey home. Yes, please, I was within sight of Ithaca, within sight, just..." No, the word hangs in the air, final, absolute. Odysseus stares. "No? The gods hate you, Odysseus. I gave you a gift, a perfect gift, a guaranteed path home. You were within sight of your island, within sight, and still you failed. Do you understand what that means? It was my men. It doesn't matter whose fault it was. What matters is that the gods want you to suffer. This isn't bad luck. This isn't chance. This is divine will. Poseidon's curse is real, and he stands, steps back. I will not interfere with the gods' plans. I will not help you again. Go, Odysseus, leave my island, and may you find your way home however you can, because I can no longer help you." Odysseus tries to argue, tries to plead, but Aeolus has already turned away. Gods appear, not hostile, not violent, just insistent. escorting him out, back to the ships, back to the sea. No second gift, no second chance, just dismissal. The ships leave the floating island. This time there's no favorable wind. No wind at all, just dead calm. Mirror smooth water, the sails hang limp. The men must row, every mile earned through pure muscle and will. They row for 6 days, 6 days of silence. No one speaks. What is there to say? They've doomed themselves, doomed their captain, destroyed their only chance at an easy journey home. On the 7th day, they reach land, another island, tall cliffs surrounding a deep harbor, perfect protection from wind and waves. It looks promising, safe. The fleet enters the harbor, all 12 ships. They anchor close together, protected by the cliffs on either side. Odysseus keeps his ship outside. Something about the harbor bothers him. It's too perfect, too protected, too much like a trap. His instincts are right. The giants appear on the cliff tops, dozens of them, not as large as the Cyclops, but large enough, 12 feet tall, maybe more. The Laestrygonians. They don't speak, don't threaten, don't give any warning. They just start throwing boulders. Massive rocks, lifted easily, hurled down into the crowded harbor, not aimed, just thrown, like children throwing stones into a pond to watch the splash. Ships shatter, hulls crack open, masts fall, men scream, scramble, try to swim, try to escape. The giants climb down to the water's edge. They're carrying spears, long spears with barbed heads. They use them to fish, to spear the men struggling in the water, lift them up, thrashing, dying, pop them into mouths too large, swallow them whole. It's not a battle, there's no fighting, no chance to defend, just massacre, just overwhelming violence. Odysseus cuts his ship's anchor rope. "Row," he screams, "row now! Get us out of here!" His men row, backward, out of the harbor, out of range. Behind them, the slaughter continues. The sounds of wood breaking, men dying, giants laughing. 11 ships destroyed, gone, hundreds of men lost in minutes. Only Odysseus' single ship escapes. Only his crew survives. They row until they can no longer hear the screaming. Then they drift, exhausted, in shock, unable to process what just happened, how suddenly everything ended. 45 men remain, that's all. 45 survivors from the hundreds who left Troy with Odysseus. He stands at the prow, silent, his hands gripping the rails so hard his knuckles turn white. 11 ships, gone, just gone. Because he led them into that harbor, because he didn't recognize the trap until it was too late. 11 more failures, 11 more prices paid. The men don't blame him, or maybe they do. but they're too tired to say it, too broken to care. They just row, slow, mechanical, going through the motions because it's all they know how to do anymore. The sea carries them on, indifferent to their suffering, indifferent to their loss, just moving them forward toward whatever comes next. Days pass, maybe weeks. Time starts to blur. They fish, catch barely enough to survive, drink rainwater, ration the last of their bread, exist rather than live. Then another island appears, always another island. The sea seems full of them, each one a new trial, a new test, a new way to lose more men. This one is different though, beautiful, almost unnaturally so. Trees heavy with fruit, clear streams, and in the center, barely visible through the forest, smoke rising from a great house of polished stone. They anchor offshore. No one wants to go ashore. No one wants to set foot on another island. They've learned. They've paid the price of curiosity too many times. But they need supplies. Need food that isn't half rotten fish. Need fresh water. Need something beyond mere survival. Odysseus divides the men. 22 will stay with the ship. 22 will explore. They draw lots to see which group goes ashore. Eurylochus loses or wins, depending on how you look at it. He'll lead the shore party. Odysseus will stay with the ship. They watch the men disappear into the trees, watch them vanish into shadow, then wait, listening, expecting screams, expecting the worst, but instead singing, a woman's voice, clear, beautiful, drifting through the trees like music, like something not quite human, the kind of voice that makes you forget danger, forget caution, makes you want to find the source, to get closer, to listen forever. The shore party follows the sound, through the forest, through clearings, until they find a great house in a meadow, and around it animals, wolves, lions, mountain cats, great predators that should be tearing each other apart, that should be hunting, killing, but they're calm, docile. They approach the men and nuzzle against them like friendly dogs, like pets. Something is very wrong here. The singing comes from inside the house. The men push open the doors, and they find her. Circe, a woman sitting at a loom, weaving, her fingers moving through the threads with practiced ease, and singing, always singing, a wordless melody that seems to bypass thought and speak directly to something deeper, something primal. She's beautiful, impossibly beautiful, dark hair cascading down her back, eyes that shift color in the firelight, green, gold, blue, purple, never the same shade twice, skin like porcelain, like marble, like something sculpted rather than born. She looks up as they enter, smiles, warm, welcoming. Travelers, she says, her speaking voice as musical as her singing. You look exhausted, hungry. Come, sit. Let me offer you hospitality. The men hesitate. They've learned caution, learned that beautiful things can be deadly. But they're so hungry, so tired, and she seems kind, genuinely kind. She's offering food, wine, rest. How can they refuse? They sit. She brings them bread and cheese and meat, brings them wine in golden cups. The wine is sweet, sweeter than any wine should be, almost cloying. But after weeks of salt fish and rainwater, it tastes like heaven. They eat, they drink, they begin to relax, to laugh, to forget, just for a moment, everything they've suffered. Circe watches them, still weaving, still singing, her smile never wavering, and in her hand a wand, a twisted piece of wood that wasn't there a moment ago, as if it materialized from the air itself. She stands, walks among them, still singing. She taps the first man on the shoulder with her wand. He drops his cup, his hands are changing, fingers shortening, merging, fingernails hardening into hooves, hair sprouting along his arms, his face, nose extending into a snout, ears growing, pointed, his whole body reshaping itself. He tries to scream. The sound that comes out is a squeal, high, animal, pig-like. The transformation spreads through the group, one by one. Each man she touches with the wand becomes a pig, full pig. Their clothes fall away, their weapons clatter to the floor. They retain their human minds, trapped inside animal bodies, aware of what's been done but unable to speak, unable to resist, unable to be anything but what she's made them. Circe herds them outside to join the other animals, the wolves, the lions. All of them were men once, sailors, travelers, anyone foolish enough to accept her hospitality. But Eurylochus didn't eat, didn't drink. Something made him cautious. Some instinct whispered danger. He stayed by the door, watching, waiting. When the transformation began, he ran through the forest, blind with the terror, branches tearing at his face, roots trying to trip him, but he doesn't stop, doesn't slow, just runs until he reaches the beach, until he sees the ship, safety, escape. He collapses on the sand, gasping, unable to speak for several minutes, just pointing back toward the forest, his face white, his hands shaking. Finally, he manages words, fragments, witch, magic, pigs. They're all pigs now, all of them. Odysseus understands enough. Another island, another horror, more men lost. He takes his sword, doesn't ask anyone to join him. This is something he must do alone. He's the captain, the leader. If anyone can face this witch, it's him. The path through the forest feels longer this time. The singing has stopped. The island is quiet. Too quiet. Halfway to the house, he meets someone unexpected. A young man blocks the path. Golden hair, eyes too bright to be mortal, beautiful in a way that's almost painful to look at. He's leaning against a tree, casual, amused, as if he's been waiting. Odysseus, the young man says, smiling, going to face the witch alone, brave, stupid, but brave. Who are you? Someone who finds your suffering entertaining. I'm Hermes, messenger of the gods, psychopomp, guide of souls, and occasionally his smile widens. Helper of mortals who amuse me. The gods haven't been very helpful lately. No, they haven't. But I'm not like the others. I don't take sides in their feuds. I just watch. And sometimes, when the story gets too boring, I give it a little push. He holds out a flower. Small, white petals, black root. Unremarkable except for something about it that feels wrong. Ancient, powerful. Moly, Hermes explains, a gift from the gods, rare, precious. Eat this, and Circe's magic cannot touch you. She'll try to transform you, she'll fail, and when she does, draw your soul, threaten her, make her swear an oath by the river Styx that she'll harm neither you nor your men. She's dangerous, Odysseus, powerful, but she honors oaths. She has to. Even gods and immortals are bound by Styx. Odysseus takes the flower. It feels warm in his hand, alive. Why help me? Hermes shrugs. Because you're interesting. Because your story isn't finished yet. Because... He looks directly at Odysseus, his two bright eyes seeing through him, past him, into him. Because even the gods get bored sometimes, and we want to see how it ends. He vanishes, not walks away, vanishes, like smoke, like he was never there. Odysseus looks at the flower, at the black root. He eats it. It tastes bitter, old, like earth and death, and things that should never be consumed. He continues to the house. Circe is waiting, the same warm smile, the same offer of food and wine. Odysseus accepts. He's not afraid. Not with Hermes' gift inside him. He drinks the wine, eats the bread and waits. Circe stands, walks toward him, the wand appearing in her hand. She taps him on the shoulder. Nothing happens. She frowns, taps him again, harder. Still nothing. Odysseus remains exactly as he is, human, unchanged. Her smile falters, then disappears completely. She steps back, eyes wide. You? How? Odysseus draws his sword, fast, the blade at her throat before she can react. Swear, he says quietly, calmly, by the river Styx, by all the gods who hear oaths, swear you'll harm neither me nor my men. Swear you'll undo what you've done. Swear it or I'll find out if immortals can die." For a long moment, Circe just stares. Then, slowly, she begins to smile. A different smile, one of recognition, of respect, maybe even admiration. "You must be Odysseus," she says softly. "Hermes told me you'd come eventually, a mortal who could resist my magic, a man clever enough to threaten a goddess." She kneels, not in submission, in acknowledgement. "I swear by the river Styx, by Zeus who watches all oaths, by the powers that bind even immortals, I will not harm you. I will not harm your men. I will free those I've transformed." The words hang in the air, binding, absolute. She's bound now by the most powerful oath in existence. She gestures. Outside, the pigs transform back into men, confused, humiliated, but alive, human again. "Stay," Circe says to Odysseus. Not a command, an invitation. "Rest, recover. I offer true hospitality now. No tricks, no magic, just peace." Odysseus should refuse, should get back on the ship and sail away immediately. But his men are exhausted, broken. They need rest, real rest, not just survival. They need to heal. So he accepts, because what choice does he have? Where else can they go? The sea waits outside, hostile, endless. Here at least, there's food, safety, a moment to breathe. A month passes, then another, then another. The men grow comfortable. They stop watching for danger, stop preparing to leave. Circe is a generous host, beautiful, kind. Why would they ever want to leave? Odysseus shares her bed, not out of love, not out of desire, out of exhaustion, out of the need for something warm, something soft, something that isn't endless ocean and suffering. A year passes, an entire year. One morning, Odysseus wakes and realizes something terrible. He can't remember Penelope's voice. He tries, concentrates, but it's gone. 10 years of war plus this year with Circe. 11 years. Long enough for even precious memories to fade, to blur into uncertainty. He finds Circe in her hole. She's weaving, always weaving. She looks up as he enters. She already knows what he's going to say. She's been expecting this moment. "We need to leave," Odysseus says. "I know. Thank you for your hospitality, for healing my men, for—" "Don't thank me yet," Circe interrupts. "You can leave, but there's something you need to know first. Your journey doesn't end at Ithaca." "What do you mean?" "Before you can reach home, you must go somewhere else. Somewhere no living man should go." "Where?" "The underworld." The word hangs in the air, heavy, final. "You must sail to the edge of the world," Circe continues, "to the land of the Cimmerians, where the sun never shines. There you'll find the entrance to Hades. You must go down into death itself and speak with the prophet Tiresias. Only he can tell you how to appease Poseidon's wrath. Only he can show you the path home. Odysseus stares at her. You're telling me to die. No, I'm telling you to visit death and return. It's been done before, by heroes, by those desperate enough, and you. She touches his face gently. You've endured impossible things, Odysseus. Perhaps you can endure even this. She gives him instructions, the rites he'll need to perform, the sacrifices, the words to speak, the way to call the dead. The next morning the ship leaves Circe's island. The men ask where they're going. Odysseus doesn't answer. How do you tell exhausted sailors that their next destination is literally the realm of the dead? They sail north, away from the sun, away from warmth. The days grow shorter, colder, darker, until finally they reach a place where the sun doesn't rise at all. The land of the Cimmerians, a grey country, a twilight realm, a place that exists in the space between life and death. They find the grove Circe described, black poplars, a river flowing underground, the entrance to the house of Hades. Odysseus performs the rites, digs a pit, pours libations, milk and honey, wine and water, sprinkles barley. Then he sacrifices sheep. Their blood flows into the earth, dark, warm, steaming in the cold air, and they come. The dead, rising from below like morning mist, translucent, hollow-eyed, drawn to the blood like moths to flame, desperate for even a moment of warmth, of life, of sensation they'll never feel again. Odysseus stands his ground, sword drawn, keeping them back. He must speak with Tiresias first, only Tiresias. Then the others can drink, can remember, can speak. The spirits press closer, reaching, pleading, but Odysseus holds them off, waiting, searching the crowd of dead for one particular shade. Then he sees her, his mother, Anticlea, who was alive when he left for Troy, who should still be alive, who shouldn't be here, shouldn't be among the dead. Mother, he whispers, his voice breaking. She reaches for him, her translucent fingers passing through his arm like smoke, cool, insubstantial. My son, she says, her voice distant, echoing. My beautiful son, I waited so long, but you never came home. I'm trying, Odysseus says, tears streaming down his face. Mother, I'm trying to come home. What happened? How are you? I died waiting, she says simply. Died watching the sea, hoping every ship was yours. But the years passed, and eventually my heart just stopped. Grief. Just grief. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have. Hush. You couldn't have known. You were fighting, surviving. I don't blame you, my son. I waited as long as I could. Is father alive? Barely, wasting away. He believes you're dead. Everyone believes you're dead. Her image wavers, starting to fade. Hurry home, Odysseus. Your son needs you. Ithaca needs you. And Penelope. Her voice grows fainter. Penelope still waits, but time is running short. The suitors press her daily. She holds them off, but she can't hold forever. Suitors? What suitors? But Anticlea is already gone, pulled back by whatever rules govern this place, leaving Odysseus with more questions, more pain, more reasons to hurry home. Other ghosts appear. Agamemnon, murdered by his wife upon returning from Troy. Achilles, who chose glory over long life and died at Troy with Paris's arrow in his heel. Ajax, who went mad from perceived slight and fell on his own sword. They all have warnings. They all have regrets. They all tell him the same thing. Go home while you still can, before it's too late. Finally, Tiresias appears, the blind prophet, the one who sees more in death than he ever could in life. Odysseus lets him drink the blood. The shade solidifies, gains color, substance enough to speak clearly. You seek the path home, Tiresias says. It's not a question. Yes, please. How do I appease Poseidon? How do I reach Ithaca? Tiresias is silent for a long moment, his blind eyes seeming to see into the future, into possibility, into fate itself. You will reach the island of Thrinacia, he finally says. There you will find cattle sacred to Helios, the sun god's herd. Listen carefully, Odysseus. Do not touch them, no matter how hungry your men become, no matter how desperate. If you harm even one of those cattle, you will lose everything, your ship, your men, everything. And if we leave them alone, then you may reach home, changed, older, broken, but alive. You'll find your house full of men courting your wife, arrogant men who believe you're dead. You'll have to kill them all, everyone. And even after that, his voice grows fainter. Even after that, your journey isn't finished. You'll have to wander again, one final journey, to a land so far from the sea that people had never seen oars. There you'll make a final offering to Poseidon, and perhaps then you'll find peace. That's it? That's the path home? That's the path. Whether you can walk it, Tiresias fades. That remains to be seen. The future is not fixed, Odysseus. Its possibility, nothing more. The ritual is complete. Odysseus and his men leave the land of the Cimmerians, leave that grey shore, return to the ship. Behind them, the dead return to their waiting, their eternal, patient waiting. Odysseus stands at the prow, says nothing about what he learned, about the cattle they must not touch, about the suitors in his house, about the final journey that waits even after he reaches home. He's so tired, too tired to explain, too tired to warn, too tired to do anything but exist and keep moving forward. The ship sails south, away from the twilight land, back towards sun and warmth and life. But Odysseus can't shake the feeling that he's already failed, that Tiresias' warning about the cattle is a prophecy, not advice, that some things are inevitable no matter how much you try to avoid them. The sea carries them on toward whatever comes next. The sun returns gradually, first just a pale glow on the horizon, then weak light breaking through clouds, then finally full daylight, warm, real. The land of the Cimmerians fades behind them like a bad dream. But the memory of it stays. The men are quiet, haunted. They've seen things mortals shouldn't see, spoken with the dead, looked into the face of their own mortality and seen nothing beyond it but shadow and forgetting. Odysseus tries to rally them, to restore some sense of purpose, but his own words ring hollow. He's seen his mother's ghost, learned she died waiting for him, learned that his house is under siege by men who want to take his place. Everything he's fighting to return to, it's all falling apart. But he says nothing, just guides the ship day after day, following the coast, looking for landmarks, trying to remember the way home. They stop at Circe's island briefly, one last time. She's waiting on the shore as if she knew they'd return. You went to the land of the dead, she says. Not a question. She can see it in their faces, in their eyes. And now you know the path ahead. Tiresias told me about the cattle, about Helios's herd. We won't touch them. We'll sail past Thrinacia without stopping. Will you? Circe studies him. You think you can control your men after everything they've suffered, after all they've lost, when they're starving and desperate and the cattle are right there? I'll make them swear an oath. Oaths can be broken, especially by desperate men, she sighs. But that's not why I called you here. There are other dangers ahead, things Tiresias didn't mention. Let me tell you what to expect. She leads him to her hall, spreads out a map drawn on treated leather, the Mediterranean, all its islands, all its dangers. First, she says, pointing, you'll pass the sirens. They sit on rocks here in the strait. They sing, and their song, it's not what you expect. It's not seduction, it's knowledge, truth. They know everything about you, everything you've done, everything you've failed to do, and they promise to tell you, promise to give you understanding if you just come closer, if you just stay and listen. How do we pass them? Plug your men's ears with beeswax. Let them hear nothing but you. She looks at him intently. If you want to hear their song, have your men tie you to the mast. Tie you so tightly you can't break free. No matter how you beg, no matter how you scream, because you will beg, Odysseus. The song will make you want to throw yourself into the sea just to reach them. I don't want to hear them. Liar, you're too curious, too hungry for knowledge. You'll want to hear what they have to say. Just make sure you can't act on that want. She points to another spot on the map. After the sirens, you'll face an impossible choice. The strait narrows here. On one side, a whirlpool, Charybdis. She swallows the sea itself 3 times a day. Any ship that gets too close will be pulled under, crushed, destroyed. On the other side, a cave. Scylla lives there. 6 heads on 6 long necks. She'll take 6 men, 6 for certain, no more, no less, if you sail close to her. So we sail between them, right in the middle. You can try, but the strait is narrow. You'll have to choose. Lose your ship to Charybdis, or lose 6 men to Scylla. There's no third option. Odysseus is silent, thinking. 6 men for certain, or everyone maybe. Yes. Then the choice is already made? Circe nods. She expected this answer. After that, if you survive, you'll reach Thrinacia, Helios's island. You know what you must do there. Don't stop. Don't land. Just sail past. No matter what your men say, no matter how they beg, we won't stop. You will, she says sadly. Something will force you to. A storm, damage to the ship. Something. And when you do, when you land on that island, remember what Tiresias told you. Remember what happens if the cattle are harmed. She walks him back to the beach. The crew is waiting, ready to leave, ready to face whatever comes next. One more thing, Circe says. After Thrinacia, if you survive, you'll be alone, completely alone. The gods will strip everything from you, ship, men, hope, everything. You'll wash up on another island, Calypso's island, and Circe's expression becomes hard to read. She won't let you go, not for a long time. How long? Years, many years. But eventually, the gods will force her to release you, and then you can finally go home. If there's anything left to go home to. Odysseus boards the ship, turns back to look at Circe one last time. She's standing on the shore, beautiful, timeless, already fading into memory. Thank you, he calls. She doesn't respond. just watches as the ship pulls away, as it disappears around the coastline, as Odysseus sails toward his fate. The Siren's island appears on perfect morning. The sea is calm, mirror smooth, not a breath of wind, the kind of stillness that feels unnatural, that makes you aware of every sound. Odysseus gathers his men, takes out the beeswax Circe provided, melts it slightly in his hands. Put this in your ears, he instructs. Push it in deep, so deep you can't hear anything. Not my voice, not the sea, not the sirens, nothing. What about you, Captain? One asks. I'm going to listen. I need to know what they say, but I need you to tie me to the mast first. Tie me tightly. Use every knot you know, and no matter what I say, no matter how I beg or scream or order you, do not untie me. Do not stop rowing. Just get us past the island. Understand? They understand. They've learned to trust Odysseus's strange plans. They've survived this long by following him. They bind him to the mast, rope around his chest, his arms, his legs, layer after layer, until he can barely move, can barely breathe. Then they plug their ears with wax, testing it, making sure they can't hear anything. Odysseus watches them call out to each other, sees their mouths move, hears nothing in response. The wax works. They take their positions at the oars, begin rowing, slow, steady, toward the island. At first, Odysseus hears nothing unusual, just the normal sounds of the ship, oars dipping in water, wood creaking, his own breathing, then singing. It starts distant, almost subliminal, just at the edge of hearing, a woman's voice, then two voices, then more, harmonizing, weaving together into something that shouldn't be possible, something that speaks directly to the part of the brain that processes beauty and meaning and truth. The words become clear. They're singing about him, about Odysseus, not praising him, not condemning him, just knowing him, seeing him, all of him. They sing about the men he sacrificed at Troy, the decisions that saved some and doomed others, the times he chose cleverness over honor, survival over loyalty, the things he's done that keep him awake at night. They sing about Penelope, about how he remembers her wrong, how memory has transformed her into something she never was, how the real woman waiting in Ithaca is different from the ideal he's created, how he might not even recognize her anymore. They sing about Telemachus, the son he doesn't know, who grew up believing his father was a coward who ran away, who learned to survive without him, who might not want or need him anymore. And they promise that if he comes to their island, they'll tell him everything. Every truth he's afraid to know, every answer to every question he's been too scared to ask. They'll give him understanding, perfect, complete understanding. All he has to do is come closer. Odysseus strains against the ropes. They bite into his flesh, draw blood. He doesn't care. He needs to reach them, needs to hear more, needs to know. "Untie me," he screams, his voice hoarse, desperate. "That's an order. Untie me now." His men can't hear him. They just keep rowing, steady, mechanical, their ears plugged, their faces blank. The island draws closer. Odysseus can see them now. The sirens, women, or things shaped like women, perched on black rocks, surrounded by bones. Thousands of bones, skulls and rib cages and fragments, the remains of every sailor who ever answered their call. The singing intensifies. It becomes everything, the only thing that matters, the only thing that's ever mattered. Odysseus would tear his arms off if it meant freeing himself, would throw himself into the sea, would drown swimming toward them if it meant hearing more. But the ropes hold, the men row, and slowly, agonizingly slowly, the island begins to fall behind them. The singing fades, the voices diminish, return to that subliminal almost sound, and disappear completely. Odysseus collapses against the mast, weeping, not from relief, from loss, from knowing he'll never have the answers they promised, never have that perfect understanding. He'll die ignorant, confused, never knowing if he made the right choices. His men remove the wax from their ears, see their captain broken, sobbing. They don't ask what he heard. They can see it in his face. Some knowledge is too heavy to bear. They cut the ropes, help Odysseus to the deck. He lies there for hours, staring at nothing, processing what the sirens revealed, what they showed him about himself. Eventually he sits up, straightens, forces himself to function, because they're not done yet, not even close. Ahead the strait narrows, on the left the water swirls, a whirlpool forming, growing, Charybdis. On the right, a dark cave high in the cliff face, Scylla's lair. Odysseus makes his decision. They'll sail close to the cave, close to Scylla, lose 6 men for certain, rather than risk losing everyone to the whirlpool. He doesn't tell the crew, doesn't warn them. What would be the point? The 6 who will die don't know their doom. Why burden them with that knowledge? Let them row. Let them hope. Let them believe they might survive. Stay as far from the whirlpool as you can, Odysseus orders. Hug the right side of the strait. Don't get close to that water. If Charybdis catches us, we're all dead. The men row hard, staying right. The whirlpool roars beside them, close enough to feel the pull, close enough to see the water spiraling down into darkness. into a throat that leads nowhere good. The cave looms dark on the other side. Scylla strikes. 6 heads on 6 long necks explode from the cave, each head a nightmare, each mouth full of teeth, each pair of eyes fixed on the ship, on the men. They move independently, each selecting a target, each striking simultaneously. 6 men are lifted into the air, still in their rowing positions, oars still in their hands, frozen in the moment of being taken, their faces registering shock, then terror, then agony as the teeth bite down. They scream, they reach back toward the ship, toward their friends, toward life. Their fingers grasping at nothing, at air, at impossibility. The heads retract, back into the cave. The screaming stops, abruptly, finally. 39 men remain. The ship passes through the strait, out into open water, away from the whirlpool, away from the cave. No one speaks. What is there to say? They all knew men would die. They just didn't know which men. Didn't know it would be so fast. So absolute. Odysseus stands at the prow. 6 more deaths. 6 more men who trusted him, who followed his orders, who believed he would get them home. 6 empty rowing benches, 6 families who will never know what happened, who will wait in wonder and eventually accept that their sons, their fathers, their brothers are never coming back. The strait falls behind them, the sea opens up, and ahead, an island, green, peaceful, beautiful, Thrainacia, the island of the sun god, where Helios' sacred cattle graze. Odysseus wants to sail past, orders the men to keep rowing, to ignore the island, to press on. But the men are exhausted, traumatized. They've just watched 6 companions die. They need rest, need to feel land beneath their feet, need to stop, even for just a few hours. And the wind is changing, a storm building on the horizon, dark clouds, lightning flickering. If they stay at sea, they'll be caught in it. If they land, they can wait it out on shore. Please, Eurylochus says, speaking for all of them, please, Odysseus, just for the night. We'll leave at dawn, but we need to rest. We can't keep going like this. Odysseus looks at his men, sees their exhaustion, their desperation. He knows he should refuse, knows what Tiresias said, but he's tired too, so tired, and maybe they can land without incident. Maybe they can avoid the cattle. Maybe the prophecy was just a warning, not fate. All right, he says, we'll land, but listen carefully. See those cattle? He points to the herds grazing near the shore. Beautiful animals? Perfect. Those belong to Helios, the sun god. They're sacred. We do not touch them, not for any reason. We have supplies, we'll eat what we have, we'll rest, and tomorrow we leave. Agreed? Agreed, Eurylacus says. The others nod. They swear oaths, promise to leave the cattle alone. They pull the ship onto the beach, set up camp, eat their remaining provisions, bread, dried fish, a little wine, not much, but enough for one night. The storm hits at sunset, wind and rain and lightning that seems aimed at them specifically. It rages all night, all the next day, all the day after that. Days become a week, the week becomes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. The storm doesn't break, doesn't weaken, just continues. Trapping them on the island, the ship is damaged, needs repairs, can't sail in this weather anyway. The provisions run out. The men try fishing, the fish avoid their nets, swim away before hooks can catch them. They try hunting birds. The birds fly out of arrow range, won't come close enough. It's as if the island itself is conspiring to starve them. They grow hungry, then very hungry, then desperate, starving, ribs showing, strength fading. They look at the cattle grazing peacefully, hundreds of perfect animals, fat, healthy, so close. Odysseus tries to watch them constantly, to make sure no one approaches the herds, but he's only one man, and he's as weak as they are, as hungry. One afternoon, exhaustion claims him. He lies down in the shade, just for a moment, just to rest his eyes. He sleeps. When he wakes, he smells cooking meat. No, please no. He runs to the beach. His men are there, gathered around a fire, roasting beef, beautiful, perfectly cooked beef, their faces filled with guilty relief, with shame, with desperate hunger satisfied. Behind them, 6 dead cattle, sacred cattle, God's cattle, the ones they swore not to touch. What have you done? Odysseus whispers. Eurylacus stands, faces him. We were starving, a month trapped here. What did you expect? We are dying, Odysseus, wasting away. Better to die with full stomachs than starve to nothing. If the gods want to punish us, let them. At least we ate first. You don't understand. Tiresias warned me. The prophet told me exactly what would happen if... The prophet is dead, Eurylacus interrupts. And we were dying too. We made our choice, and if you were honest, you'd admit you're glad we did, because now you can eat too. Now you can stop starving. Odysseus looks at the meat, at his men eating, at the impossible choice they've made, and he realizes Eurylacus is right. Part of him, a small, shameful part, is glad because he's so hungry, because the smell of cooking meat is overwhelming, because he wants to eat, needs to eat, but he doesn't, can't, because he knows what this means, what's coming. The storm breaks that night. Finally, the wind dies. The rain stops. The sea calms, perfect sailing weather. They can leave now, can launch the ship, can try to reach home before the consequences arrive. They load up, push off, raise the sail, row hard, desperate to put distance between themselves and Thrinacia, between themselves and what they've done. They're barely out of sight of the island when the new storm hits. This one is different. This one has purpose. This one isn't natural weather. It's wrath. Divine wrath. The sky turns black. Lightning doesn't flash randomly. It targets the ship, strikes the mast, sets the sail on fire. The wood splinters, cracks, falls. Zeus himself is attacking them, the king of gods punishing sacrilege. The ship begins to break apart, planks separating, the hull cracking, water rushing in. Men tumble into the sea, some struck by falling debris, some pulled under by the weight of their armor, some simply swallowed by waves. Odysseus clings to wreckage, a piece of the mast. Around him his men drown. He tries to save them, reaches for them, grabs hands, but the storm is too strong, the sea too hungry. One by one they slip away, pulled under, gone. Eurylochus is the last, clinging to a broken oar, looking at Odysseus, not accusing, not blaming, just accepting. "I'm sorry," he says. Just before a wave takes him, "Tell my wife." The wave crashes. Eurylochus disappears beneath it, doesn't surface. The storm continues all night, all the next day. Odysseus clings to his piece of wreckage, alone, completely alone for the first time in his life. No crew, no ship, no men to lead, just him and the sea and the endless sky. The storm finally ends. The sun rises on the second day. Odysseus is still alive, barely, clinging to the wood, his hands raw, his skin burned by sun and salt. A current takes him, pulls him gently, carries him for days. He drifts, half-conscious, delirious with thirst, with hunger, with exhaustion beyond anything he's ever known. He sees things, hallucinations, Penelope walking on the water, Telemachus sailing a ship made of clouds, his mother rising from the sea, all of them reaching for him, all of them fading before he can touch them. On the seventh day, he washes up on a shore. Not Ithaca, never Ithaca, another island, always another island. He crawls onto the beach, collapses, can't move anymore, can't think, can't do anything but lie there and wait for death, for rescue, for anything. A woman finds him there, a goddess, neither Olympian nor Titan, but something older, something that predates the current order of things. Calypso. She's beautiful, impossibly beautiful. Dark hair, eyes like the sea itself, ageless, eternal, and lonely. So lonely. She's been alone on this island for centuries, millennia, watching the world change, watching mortals live and die, and never once stopping at her shore, never once seeing her, knowing her, until now. You're alive, she says, surprised, curious, barely, but alive. She kneels beside him, touches his face. What's your name? Odysseus, he manages, his voice barely a whisper. Please, water. She gives him water, feeds him, tends to his wounds, carries him to her house, a beautiful house of polished stone and growing vines, a paradise that would make Circe's island look plain. For days he recovers, sleeps, eats, slowly returns to something like health, something like sanity. When he can finally walk, he explores the island, looking for a ship, for a way off, for any means of escape. There's nothing. No ships, no boats. No wood suitable for building, just the island, just Calypso, just paradise. You'll stay here, she tells him one evening, not asking, stating, you'll recover, you'll heal, and you'll stay. I can't. I have to. There is no have to here. There's no wall, no journey, no gods cursing you, just peace, just rest, just this, forever if you want. I don't want forever. I want to go home. Home, she repeats, as if the word is foreign. You mean Ithaca, that small island, that mortal wife, that son you've never met. That's what you choose over paradise, over immortality? Yes. Why? He thinks about it, tries to put into words something that shouldn't need words. Because it's mine, because I chose it, because immortality without choice isn't life. It's just existence. Calypso looks at him, really looks at him, seeing past the weathered skin and gray hair, seeing the man underneath, the mortal who keeps refusing paradise, keeps choosing suffering. You're interesting, she said finally. Most men would accept what I'm offering, but you... She smiles, sad, already resigned. You won't, no matter how long I keep you here. You'll always want to leave. Then let me go. No, not yet. You're interesting, Odysseus, and I've been alone for so long. Let me have this. Let me have you for just a little while. Days pass, weeks, months. Odysseus tries to build a raft. Calypso stops him, not violently, just makes the wood disappear, makes the vines untie themselves, makes escape impossible. A year passes, then another, then 5 more. 7 years. 7 years on Calypso's island. 7 years of paradise that feels like prison. 7 years of perfect weather and perfect food and perfect company that means nothing because it's not what he chose. Every day Odysseus sits on the beach, stares at the horizon, looking for sails that never come, waiting for a rescue that will never arrive. He grows older. The man who left for Troy was 30. The man who survived the journey was 40. The man sitting on this beach is nearly 50, entering old age, gray, weathered, tired in ways that sleep can't fix. Calypso shares his bed, not out of force, not out of coercion, just because he's there, because she's lonely, because they both need something warm in the night. But there's no love, no real connection, just two beings filling the emptiness with bodies. Finally, the gods intervene. Athena has been watching, waiting, hoping Zeus would show mercy. And finally, after 7 years, she acts. She goes to Olympus, pleads Odysseus' case before her father. He's suffered enough, she argues. 20 years, 20 years of war and wandering and loss. Even divine anger has limits. Even punishment must end eventually. Zeus considers. He's bored with the whole affair. Poseidon's grudge seems petty now. Odysseus is just one mortal, one aging, broken man. Why not let him go home? Fine, Zeus says. Send Hermes. Tell Calypso to release him. Let the mortal go home if he can survive one more journey. Hermes appears on Calypso's island. The message is clear. Let him go or face Zeus's wrath. Calypso argues, rages, weeps, but in the end she obeys. She must. The order comes from Zeus himself, from the king of gods. She helps Odysseus build a raft, a real one this time, sturdy, seaworthy. She provides food, water, supplies for the journey. On the morning of departure, she stands on the shore, watching him prepare to leave, her face unreadable. You're going to suffer more, she finally says. You know that, right? Poseidon still hates you. The journey isn't over, and even if you reach Ithaca, what you find there will break your heart. I know, Odysseus says. He's tying down supplies, not looking at her. But it's my suffering, my heartbreak, mine to choose. You could stay. I could make you immortal. You'd never age, never die, never suffer again. We could have eternity together. No, we couldn't, because it wouldn't be a choice. It would just be existence. I'd rather have one real day in Ithaca than 1,000 perfect years here. Calypso is silent for a long moment, then she laughs, bitter, sad. Go then. Go back to your mortal life, your mortal wife, your mortality. I hope it's worth it. It is. He pushes the raft into the water, climbs aboard, raises the small sail. The wind catches it, gentle, favorable. Calypso watches from the shore. As he drifts away, she calls out one last time. Goodbye, Odysseus. I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope it's still there when you arrive. He doesn't respond, just sails. away from paradise, away from immortality, toward home, toward whatever's left of his life. The island fades behind him, becomes a memory, another stop on an endless journey, another beautiful cage he escaped from. For 18 days the raft carries him across open water. No storms, no monsters, just sea and sky and the slow work of sailing. On the 19th day he sees land, not Ithaca. He's learned not to hope for that, but land, civilization, a step closer. That's when Poseidon notices. The sea god has been away, occupied with other matters, but now, returning to his realm, he sees Odysseus, sailing free, heading toward home, heading toward escape. The rage that fills Poseidon is absolute. This mortal, this insignificant human who blinded his son, who escaped punishment for 7 years, who dares to think he can just sail home as if nothing happened. No. Poseidon raises one final storm, the worst yet, the kind of storm that ends things, that sinks ships and drowns men and erases mistakes from existence. Waves like mountains, wind like the breath of titans, the sky turns black, lightning everywhere, thunder that shakes the bones. The raft disintegrates, just comes apart, logs scattering, sail tearing, supplies washing away. Odysseus is thrown into the water, tumbling, drowning, pulled under by waves that want him dead, that want to finish what they started 20 years ago. He surfaces, gasps air, goes under again, surfaces, goes under, each time a little weaker, a little less able to fight. This is how it ends, not in battle, not with glory, just drowning in a storm, alone, forgotten, never reaching home. But a goddess takes pity, Leucothea, a minor deity of the sea, once mortal herself. She knows what it's like to suffer, to drown, to die far from home. She appears as a seabird, circles above Odysseus, drops something into the water beside him, a veil, shimmering, magical. Her voice reaches him through the storm. Wrap this around yourself. It will keep you afloat. Now swim. The island of the Phaeacians is close. Swim, Odysseus. Swim for your life. He takes the veil, wraps it around his chest, and swims. For 2 days and 2 nights he swims, through the storm, through waves that try to pull him under, through exhaustion beyond anything he's ever known. No food, no water, just swimming, arms moving on instinct, mind empty except for a single thought. Forward, always forward, home, home, home. He washes up on a beach, not dead, not quite, somewhere in between. He crawls out of the water, up the sand, into a grove of olive trees. He collapses into a pile of leaves, too exhausted to move further, too broken to care if he lives or dies. The leaves cover him, keep him warm, keep him hidden, keep him safe. He loses consciousness, falls into sleep so deep it's almost death. His body finally claiming rest it's been denied for 20 years. He doesn't know that he's finally reached a place of safety. Doesn't know that the people of this island are kind, are blessed by the gods, are capable of helping him reach home at last. He just sleeps, deep, dreamless, the sleep of someone who has nothing left to give. Above him, the stars turn, the night passes, and morning comes. And somewhere on a small island across the sea, a woman sits at her loom, still waiting, still weaving, still hoping against hope that her husband might somehow still be alive. Morning comes, always, morning comes. The sun rises over the island of the Phaeacians, warm light filtering through the olive branches, birds singing, the sound of waves gentle on the shore. Peace, real peace, the kind Odysseus hasn't known in 20 years. He wakes slowly, painfully, every muscle screaming, every joint stiff, his skin crusted with salt, his throat raw, his hands bleeding from 2 days of swimming. For a moment, he doesn't remember where he is, doesn't remember how he got here, just knows that he's alive. Somehow, against all odds, still alive. He sits up, the leaves fall away, he looks down at himself, naked except for the magical veil still wrapped around his chest, filthy, covered in bruises and cuts, half-starved. He looks like a monster, like something that crawled out of the sea. He hears voices, women's voices, young, laughing, playing, coming closer. He peers through the branches, a group of young women washing clothes in a nearby stream, tossing a ball back and forth, their laughter bright and innocent. They're highborn. He can tell by their clothes, by the way they move, princesses or nobles, protected, sheltered. They've never known real suffering. One of them is different, taller, more confident, beautiful in a way that's striking rather than pretty. She throws the ball with precision, catches it easily. The others defer to her, a leader, probably royalty. Odysseus knows what will happen if he just walks out. He's naked, filthy, wild-looking. They'll scream, run, call guards. He'll be arrested, possibly killed, at best driven away. So he breaks a branch from the olive tree, large enough to cover himself. Hold in front of his body, he tries to make himself look as non-threatening as possible, small, humble, harmless. He steps into view. The women scream. Of course they scream. They scatter in every direction, running, terrified, all except one. The tall one, the leader. She stands her ground, her hands shake, her face has gone pale, but she doesn't run. Something in her, courage, pride, curiosity, keeps her rooted. Odysseus stays still, doesn't approach, doesn't make any sudden movements, just stands there, holding the branch, looking as pathetic as he feels. "Please," he says. His voice barely works, raw from salt water and screaming into storms. "I mean no harm. I'm lost. I've been at sea for a long time. I need help." The woman studies him, really looks at him, past the dirt and blood and wildness, seeing something underneath, something human, something that was once noble. "You're Greek," she says, not a question. She can hear it in his accent, in the few words he's spoken. "Yes, from Ithaca. My name is Odysseus. I'm trying to get home." Something flickers in her eyes. Recognition? She's heard of Ithaca, heard of Odysseus, perhaps, the hero of Troy, though he doesn't look much like a hero now. She turns to her handmaids. They're huddled together at a distance, still frightened. "Bring clothes," she orders, "and food, water. This man needs help." They hesitate, but they obey. She's clearly someone they can't refuse. They bring a tunic, bread, a skin of water, but they won't come close. Just leave everything on the ground and retreat. Odysseus retreats behind a bush to wash, to make himself presentable. The stream is cold, clear. He scrubs away days of salt and grime, dresses in the borrowed clothes. When he emerges, he looks almost human again, weathered, aged, but human. The woman is still there, waiting. The others have gathered around her now, still nervous, but curious. Who is this stranger? Where did he come from? "Thank you," Odysseus says. "You didn't have to help. Most wouldn't." "My name is Nausicaa," the woman says, "daughter of King Alcinous. These are the Phaeacian Islands. You're safe here. We don't turn away travelers, even," she gestures at him, "even ones who wash up looking like they've fought the sea itself. I did fight the sea for 20 years, and I'm losing." Nausicaa studies him more carefully now, seeing past the immediate appearance, seeing the weariness in his eyes, the way he holds himself, like a soldier, like someone who's seen too much. "Come," she says, "my father will want to meet you. Any man who survives what you clearly survived, he has stories worth hearing." They walk to the city. It's beautiful, more beautiful than anywhere Odysseus has been in years. Clean streets, well-maintained buildings, gardens everywhere, a civilization at peace, prosperous, safe. The kind of place that exists only when war hasn't touched it in generations. The palace is magnificent, white stone, colonnades, gardens with fruit trees and flowers, bronze and gold decorations, wealth displayed casually, abundantly. King Alcinous receives them in his great hall. He's older than Odysseus expected, 60 maybe, gray-bearded, kind-eyed, a man who rules through wisdom rather than fear. Father Nausicaa says, "This is Odysseus of Ithaca. He washed up on our shore. He needs help." Alcinous stands, approaches, looks Odysseus over, not judgmentally, just assessing, understanding. "Odysseus," he says, "the name is known to us, hero of Troy, the man who designed the horse, who took the city. You have been gone a long time, 20 years, if the stories are true. They're true, all of them, and I'm trying to get home, trying to see my family, but the journey," he trails off. "How do you explain 20 years of suffering in a few words?" "You'll tell us," Alcinous says gently, "tonight, at dinner. You'll tell us everything. But first, rest. Bathe properly. Eat, sleep. You look like a man who hasn't done any of those things in far too long." Odysseus is given a room, a real room, with a real bed, soft, clean. He lies down just for a moment, just to rest his eyes. He sleeps for an entire day and night, deep, dreamless, the kind of sleep that heals. When he wakes, servants bring him proper clothes, fine wool, well made, fit for a king. They bring food, real food, bread and meat and fruit and wine. He eats slowly, his stomach unused to abundance. That evening there's a feast, the hall filled with Phaeacian nobles, musicians playing, dancers performing, celebration, joy. All the things Odysseus has forgotten existed. He sits at the place of honor, next to Alcinous. The king treats him with respect, with dignity, as if he's not a broken beggar, washed up on their shore, but an actual king, an equal. A bard stands to perform, an old man, blind, but his fingers on the lyre are sure, practiced. He begins to sing. The song is about Troy, about the great heroes, about Achilles and Hector and Ajax, about battles and glory and the war that shaped a generation. Then the bard sings about the Trojan horse, about Odysseus's cunning, about how the Greeks finally took the city, how they poured out of the wooden horse at night, how they opened the gates, how they ended 10-year war in a single night of blood and fire. The bard sings of Odysseus as if he were already a legend, already dead, a story from the past, a name to inspire future heroes. Odysseus sits at the table and weeps. He tries to hide it, brings a hand to his face, turns away slightly, but tears stream down his cheeks, silent, unstoppable. He's hearing his own story sung, hearing himself turned into myth, into legend, into something that doesn't quite feel real anymore. Alcinous notices. He signals the bard to stop. The hall grows quiet. "Why do you cry, stranger?" the king asks gently. "These are songs of glory, of triumph, of great deeds. Why do tears come? Odysseus takes a breath, steadies himself. He's kept his identity hidden until now, letting them think he's just another soldier from Troy, another survivor trying to get home. But he can't hide anymore, can't keep pretending. Because I am Odysseus, he says, his voice carrying through the hall. Son of Laertes, king of Ithaca, and I've been trying to get home for 20 years. Silence, complete silence. Everyone staring, some in disbelief, some in wonder, some in shock. Then chaos, everyone talking at once, questions, demands for stories, disbelief that the Odysseus, the hero of Troy, is sitting here in their hall, alive, real, not a legend but a man. Alcinous raises his hand, the hall quiets. You'll tell us everything, he says. Every island, every trial, every moment of your journey, we want to hear it all. So Odysseus tells them everything, the whole journey compressed into a single night of storytelling. He speaks of the Cyclones, of the Lotus Eaters, of Polyphemus and the curse that followed, of Aeolus and the bag of winds, of the Laestrygonians who destroyed his fleet, of Circe and her magic, of the journey to the land of the dead, of the sirens and their song, of Scylla and Charybdis, of the sacred cattle and Zeus' punishment, of Calypso's island and the 7 years of captivity, of Poseidon's final storm. He talks until his voice gives out, until dawn breaks through the windows, until there's nothing left to tell. When he finishes, the hall is silent, even the servants stand frozen, tears streaming down their faces, and they've heard the story of suffering, real suffering, not the glorified battles of the bard's songs, but the grinding, exhausting reality of trying to survive, of losing everything, of still continuing. Alcinous speaks into the quiet, his own eyes wet. You've suffered enough, more than enough. Tomorrow we'll prepare our fastest ship, our best sailors. We'll take you to Ithaca. No more delays, no more trials, just home. Finally home. Odysseus can't speak, can't find words. He just nods, hoping this isn't another dream, another trick, another false promise. But the next day, true to his word, Alcinous provides a ship, his absolute best. The Phaeacians are legendary sailors, their ships the fastest in the world, blessed by Poseidon himself, ironically, capable of reaching any destination in a single night's sailing. They load the ship with provisions, with gifts, gold and silver and fine cloth, everything a king could offer, more than Odysseus could ever need. Alcinous is generous, almost absurdly so. Why, Odysseus asks, why help me this much? You owe me nothing. Alcinous smiles. Because you've suffered, because you're still trying, because hope deserves to be rewarded sometimes, because he places a hand on Odysseus' shoulder, because you remind us that the world is larger and more terrible than our peaceful island, and that surviving it deserves honor. Odysseus boards the ship. For the first time in 20 years, he boards a ship that will actually take him home. That won't be blown off course, won't hit another island, won't face another monster, just home, straight home. The Phaeacians cast off, their oars hit the water in perfect rhythm. The ship moves impossibly fast, cutting through the water like a knife through silk. Magic or skill or blessing, it doesn't matter. They're going home. Odysseus is exhausted. The night of storytelling drained him. He lies down in the stern, closes his eyes, just for a moment. He falls asleep, deep, complete. The sailors let him rest. They know where Ithaca is. They don't need his guidance. Through the night they sail, stars wheeling overhead, the ship cutting through darkness, steady, sure, heading east, always east, toward a small island, toward home. Dawn breaks. The sailors see land, a familiar coastline, Ithaca. They're here. They've actually made it. Odysseus is still asleep, sleeping so deeply he doesn't wake even when the ship runs gently aground on a beach. The sailors don't wake him. He looks peaceful, finally peaceful. They let him rest. They carry him to shore, gently, like carrying something precious, something fragile. They lay him on the sand with all his gifts beside him. Then they push off, return to their ship, row back toward Phaeacia. When Odysseus wakes, he's alone. The ship is gone. The sailors returned home, and Odysseus stands on a beach he doesn't recognize. He looks around, panic rising. The trees aren't quite right. The shape of the hills doesn't match his memory. This can't be Ithaca. The gods have played one final trick, deposited him on yet another strange shore. After everything, after 20 years, he's still not home. He wants to scream, to rage, to give up completely, but he doesn't, can't. He's too tired for rage, too broken for despair, just numb, accepting. Of course it's not Ithaca. Of course the gods wouldn't allow him this one mercy. Then Athena appears. She's been watching, waiting, making sure he arrives safely. She appears first as a young shepherd, approaches him on the beach. "Stranger," she says, "you look lost. Can I help?" "Where am I?" Odysseus asks, defeated. "What island is this?" "Island. This is no island. This is Ithaca, your home." He stares at her. "Liar. This isn't Ithaca. I know my home. This isn't." 20 years has changed it, the goddess interrupts. She drops her disguise. stands before him in full divine glory. Athena, his patron, his protector. 20 years has changed you too. You don't recognize your own home anymore, but it's here. It's real. You've finally made it. Odysseus looks again, really looks, and slowly, he begins to recognize things. That rock formation, that tree, that curve of the bay. It is Ithaca. He's just forgotten, or changed too much to see clearly. He's home. After 20 years, after countless islands and monsters and trials, after losing everything, he's home. He falls to his knees, not in joy, not in triumph, just in exhaustion, in relief so profound it's almost pain. He's home. He's actually home. Athena lets him have this moment. Then she speaks. Now listen carefully. Your wife still lives, still waits. But your house is full of suitors, 108 men who have taken over your hall, who eat your food, drink your wine, court your wife. They believe you're dead. They pressure Penelope daily to choose one of them. Where is my son? Telemachus is alive, grown, 20 years old now, a man, but he's powerless. The suitors mock him. They'll kill him soon if something doesn't change. They've already planned his murder. He's gone searching for news of you. He'll return soon. Then I'll go to my hall. You'll die, Athena interrupts. 108 armed men, your one aging king. You've been gone 20 years. They'll cut you down before you reach the door. Then what? You need an advantage. Surprise. She touches his face, his body. Magic ripples through him. When it finishes, he looks down at himself and sees an old beggar, stooped, wrinkled, white-haired, skin weathered beyond his actual years. Someone no one would ever recognize as Odysseus. Go to your swineherd first, Athena instructs. Eumaeus, he's stayed loyal, he'll help you. Then we'll plan. Then you'll remind these suitors what it means to dishonor a king. She vanishes. Odysseus looks down at his beggar's body, looks at his palace in the distance, his home, so close, but still not quite reached. He picks up his walking stick, assumes the posture of an old man, and starts the long climb up the hill. The swineherd's hut sits far from the palace, a humble place, pens full of pigs, a simple fire. But when Odysseus approaches, the old man greets him with kindness. Eumaeus doesn't recognize his king. How could he? Odysseus has been gone 20 years, and now he looks like a beggar, an old broken man who's wandered too far from home. But Eumaeus offers food anyway, bread and wine and pork, the kind of hospitality that's becoming rare in Ithaca, the kind that used to define this place. They sit by the fire, talk. Eumaeus speaks of his master, Odysseus, as if he were dead, speaks of how the household has fallen apart, how the suitors waste everything, how Penelope weeps every night, how Telemachus struggles under the weight of responsibility he's too young to bear. "Do you think he'll ever return?" Odysseus asks, speaking of himself in third person. "Your master?" Eumaeus shakes his head sadly. "He's been gone 20 years. The war took 10. The journey was supposed to take weeks. No man survives this long away. He's dead. In my heart, I've known it for years, but I stay anyway, because honor doesn't die just because the man who deserved it has." Odysseus says nothing. What can he say? That he's here? That he survived? That the loyal swineherd's faith was justified? Not yet. Not until he's ready. That night, someone else arrives at the hut. A young man, 20 years old, tall, strong, handsome, with his mother's eyes and his father's stubborn jaw, moving with the unconscious grace of youth, of someone who hasn't yet been broken by the world. Telemachus. Odysseus's breath catches. His son who was a baby when he left, who he's never really known, who grew up without a father, who learned to survive alone. Eumaeus greets him warmly. "My prince, you shouldn't be here. The suitors, they know you've returned. They're planning something, planning to kill you before you can challenge them." "Let them try," Telemachus says, but his voice shakes slightly. He's brave, trying to be brave, but he's young, still learning what courage really costs. He notices the old beggar by the fire. "Who's this?" "A traveler. I gave him shelter." Telemachus nods, doesn't think twice about it. In his father's house, strangers were always welcome. The son maintains the tradition even as everything else crumbles around him. After Eumaeus leaves to tend the pigs, Athena appears. Only Odysseus can see her. She gestures. The disguise melts away. For a moment, Odysseus stands as himself. Aged, yes. Gray, yes. Worn by 20 years of suffering, but himself. Telemachus stares, stands, backs away. You can't be." "I am Odysseus," his father says quietly, his voice breaking. "I am your father, and I've come home." For a long moment, Telemachus doesn't move, doesn't speak. 20 years of absence, 20 years of growing up without a father, 20 years of being mocked as the son of a coward who abandoned his family, 20 years of not knowing if his father even thought about him. Then he crosses the room, embraces his father, hard, desperately, like he's afraid Odysseus will disappear if he lets go. They hold each other, both weeping, both trying to compress 20 years of loss into a single moment of reunion. trying to become father and son when they've been strangers for an entire lifetime. When they finally pull apart, Telemachus has 100 questions, 1,000 questions. Odysseus answers them, tells the shortened version of his journey, the essential parts, the losses, the suffering, the constant trying to get home. Then they plan. Tomorrow, Telemachus will return to the palace, act normal. Odysseus will follow later, still disguised as a beggar. They'll observe. They'll wait for the right moment. They'll remove the weapons from the hall. Then they'll kill every suitor in the palace. It's a simple plan. Probably a suicide plan. 2 men against 108. But it's all they have. Your mother, Odysseus says before they part. How is she? Telemachus looks away, his expression pained. Holding on, barely. They pressure her constantly, every day, telling her to choose, to accept that you're dead, to move on. Yesterday, she finally promised, said she'd choose one of them soon. She's running out of excuses. We'll be in time, Odysseus says, hoping he's right, praying he's right, hoping the gods allow him this one mercy after everything else. The next morning, Telemachus returns to the palace. Odysseus waits a few hours, then follows, slowly, stooped, the posture of an old beggar, a walking stick for support. The approach is strange. He's walked this path 1,000 times, but always as king, never as beggar, never bent and slow, leaning on a stick for support. The palace looks smaller than he remembers, or maybe he's just grown used to endless horizons, to seas that stretch forever, to spaces larger than any building. At the gates, an old dog lies in the dirt, barely alive, covered in fleas, neglected, forgotten. The dog's head lifts as Odysseus approaches. Argos, his hunting dog, 20 years old now, ancient for a dog. He should have died years ago, decades ago, but he's been waiting somehow, impossibly, waiting for his master to come home. The tail moves, just barely, a weak thump against the ground. Odysseus kneels beside him, can't help himself, can't maintain the disguise for this, tears streaming down his face. Hello, old friend, he whispers. I'm home. I'm finally home. Argos' tail wags harder. The dog knows, somehow knows, recognizes this beggar as his master. This moment is what he's been waiting for, the only thing keeping him alive all these years. Odysseus scratches behind his ears, one last time, the way he used to, the way Argos loved. The dog sighs, content, at peace, and dies right there, his long vigil finally over, his purpose fulfilled. Odysseus stands, wipes his eyes, forces the beggar's stoop back into his posture, forces himself to continue. He enters his own house as a stranger. The great hall is chaos. 108 men fill the space, eating, drinking, laughing, shouting. Odysseus's wine flows freely. His food disappears into their mouths. His servants run back and forth, exhausted, trying to keep up with demands. The suitors lounge on his furniture, sleep with his maids, treat his home like their own. At the far end of the hall, presiding over this mockery, sits Penelope. Odysseus's breath catches. She's older, of course she is. 20 years older, gray streaks through her dark hair, lines around her eyes, around her mouth, the softness of youth replaced by something harder, more weathered, but still beautiful, still her, still the woman he left behind. She sits at her loom, weaving, always weaving. It's how she's held them off for 3 years, promising to choose a suitor when she finishes her work. But every night, she unravels what she wove during the day, an endless task, an impossible choice delayed forever. But they've discovered her trick. Now they watch her, make sure she doesn't unravel. The weaving is nearly done. Time has run out. Odysseus, disguised as a beggar, finds a spot near the door, sits on the floor, unnoticed, invisible, just another piece of human debris washed up on the shores of the fallen house. The suitors notice him eventually, start throwing things, bread crusts, bones, mocking him. One throws a footstool that hits him in the shoulder, hard, bruising. Odysseus doesn't react, doesn't fight back, just watches, studies their faces, decides who will die first, who will die last, who will suffer most. Telemachus defends the beggar. In my father's house, guests are treated with respect, even now, even when your father is dead. Antinous interrupts. The worst of them, the leader, the one who throws the hardest, laughs the loudest, demands the most. Face reality, boy. It's been 20 years. Choose a new father. One of us will do nicely. Laughter from the others. Cruel. Mocking. They enjoy humiliating Telemachus, enjoy reminding him of his powerlessness. Penelope's hands stop weaving, just for a moment. Her face remains blank, unreadable, but her hands have stopped, as if the words hurt, as if they reached her. Then she continues, the shuttle moving back and forth, the pattern growing, the deadline approaching. That night the suitors leave for their own homes. The hall empties. Servants clean the remains of the feast, the destruction, the waste. Penelope descends from her chambers. She has heard about the old beggar, about the stranger her son defended. In her father's house, hospitality was sacred. She'll honor it even if no one else will. Odysseus sits by the fire, still disguised, His wife approaches, sits across from him, close enough to touch, close enough to see every line on her face, every gray hair, every mark of 20 years of waiting. Up close, he can see the exhaustion, the toll it's taken, the weight of holding everything together alone, of raising a son, of managing a household, of resisting 108 men who want what isn't theirs. They tell me you're a traveler, she says, her voice tired, soft, that you've journeyed far. Farther than most, Odysseus manages, his own voice rough, disguised, afraid she'll recognize it if he's not careful. Have you? She hesitates, her hands twisting in her lap. Have you heard news of the Greeks who went to Troy, of Odysseus of Ithaca? He could tell her, right now, could drop the disguise and end her suffering, and both their suffering. Hold her, tell her everything, make it all okay. But something makes him wait, some instinct, some sense that the moment isn't right, that one more test remains. I met him once, Odysseus says, lying, the words bitter in his mouth. Years ago, on Crete, a storm blew his ship off course. He stayed there for months, a good man, a king worth waiting for. Did he? Her voice breaks. She looks away. Did he ever speak of home, of his family? Constantly, you and your son were all he talked about. Every conversation, every quiet moment, he said, Odysseus swallows. He said he'd crawl back to Ithaca if he had to, even if it took him a lifetime, even if he arrived broken and old and useless, he'd come home. Penelope weeps, silent tears streaming down her face. She doesn't try to hide them, just lets them fall. A lifetime, she whispers. It's been a lifetime, and I'm so tired. She composes herself after a moment, wipes her eyes, straightens. Tomorrow, she says. I've promised to choose tomorrow. I'll set a contest, Odysseus's great bow, the one he used for hunting. Whoever can string it and shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads, that man I'll marry, that man I'll accept as king. She stands to leave, pauses, looks back at the old beggar, studies his face for a long moment. Something flickers in her eyes. Suspicion? Hope? Recognition? But she turns away. Thank you, she says, for the lie. It was kind. It wasn't a lie. She doesn't respond, just climbs the stairs, back to her chambers, back to her empty bed, back to another night of waiting. Odysseus sits by the dying fire, his wife's footsteps fading above, so close, after 20 years, so close he could reach out and touch her, but not yet, not quite yet. One more night, one more test, one more trial, then everything ends, one way or another. He closes his eyes, plans murder, plans justice, plans the final act of a story that's taken a lifetime to tell. Morning will come soon, always morning comes. And with it, the ending. Morning comes. The suitors gather, all 108 of them. They've heard about the contest. They're excited. Finally, an end to this. One of them will win the queen, the palace, the kingdom, everything. The great bow is brought out, Odysseus's bow, the one he's had since he was young, black wood, massive, curved, strung with sinew that's dried and hardened over 20 years, a weapon designed for a hero, for someone with strength beyond normal men. 12 axe heads are set up in a row. The task is clear: string the bow, shoot through all 12 axes in a single shot. Simple, easy for any real warrior. The suitors laugh. They're confident. Any one of them could do it. They're young, strong. Why wouldn't they succeed? Antinous tries first. He lifts the bow, tries to bend it, to bring the string close to the notch. His face reddens with effort, muscles straining, veins standing out on his forehead. The bow doesn't flex at all, doesn't bend even slightly, as if it's made of stone rather than wood. He throws it down in disgust. The wood has dried out. It's been too long. The bow is useless. No one can string this. Another tries, and another, and another. 108 men, young, strong, confident. Not one can even bend the bow. Not one comes close to stringing it. They start to panic, to make excuses. The contest is impossible. The bow is broken. It's not fair. They demand a different test, a different contest. Penelope watches from her chair, her face blank, but something in her eyes, relief, hope, as if she knew this would happen, as if she chose this contest specifically because she knew they'd all fail. Odysseus, still disguised, still sitting by the door, stands. "Let me try," he says, his old beggar's voice carrying through the hall. The suitors laugh. The old beggar? If they can't do it, how could he? It's absurd, insulting, almost offensive that he'd even suggest it. But Telemachus supports him. Everyone gets a chance. That's the rule. That's what Mother said. Reluctantly, they hand him the bow. Odysseus weighs it in his hands. His bow. He's held this weapon 10,000 times, knows every curve, every imperfection, every notch and groove. It's part of him, an extension of his body, his will. He strings it effortlessly, like picking up a familiar tool, like breathing. The string slots into place with a musical sound. Perfect. Ready. Silence in the hall. He takes an arrow from the quiver, notches it, draws. The bow bends smoothly, perfectly, as if it remembers him, as if it's been waiting too. He aims, not carefully, Not really. He knows where the arrow will go. He releases. The arrow sings through the air, through the first axe head, and the second, and the third, through all 12, perfectly aligned, perfectly placed. The arrow buries itself in the far wall with a solid thunk. Complete silence. Then Odysseus drops the disguise. The magic falls away. He stands as himself, king, hero, husband, father, the man they thought was dead. "Hello," he says calmly, looking at Antinous, meeting his eyes. "I'm home." Antinous tries to speak, tries to explain, tries to beg for mercy or understanding or time. The second arrow takes him in the throat. He falls, choking, drowning in his own blood, the first to die, but not the last. Then the slaughter begins. It's not a battle, it's an execution. Odysseus stands by the door. The only exit between him and the suitors is just space and arrows and death. Arrow after arrow, each one perfect, each one lethal. The suitors scramble for weapons, for shields, find nothing. Telemachus removed them all last night. Every sword, every spear, every piece of armor, gone. They try to rush him, try to overwhelm him with numbers, but the door is narrow. Only 2 men can approach at once, and Odysseus has been fighting for 20 years, has survived things that would kill gods. He drops the bow, draws his sword. The first man to reach him dies before he understands he's moving. The second stumbles over the first body, dies while trying to get up. Telemachus joins him, father and son, side by side, back to back, fighting together for the first time, fighting for their home, their family, everything that matters. The suitors realize too late what's happening. This isn't the aging beggar. This is Odysseus, the man who took Troy, the man who survived impossible things, the man who's been holding rage inside for 20 years, the man who's going to make them pay for every insult, every stolen meal, every moment of disrespect. It doesn't take long. 108 men, unarmed, untrained, arrogant, soft from years of feasting and leisure. They die like cattle, like animals, without dignity, without glory. When it's over, the floor runs red. Bodies everywhere. The great hall of Odysseus, which once hosted celebrations and feasts and joy, is now an abattoir, a slaughterhouse, a monument to vengeance. Odysseus stands in the center, breathing hard, covered in blood, his sword dripping, his hand shaking with exhaustion, with adrenaline, with relief that it's finally over. Penelope appears at the top of the stairs. Her handmaid has woken her, told her something impossible is happening. She comes down slowly, carefully, her eyes taking in the carnage, the bodies, the blood, the man standing in the center of it all. She looks at him, really looks, trying to see past the blood and 20 years and all the suffering written on his face. Is it you, she whispers? Or is this another cruel dream, another trick? Odysseus drops his sword. He clatters on the stone floor. It's me, Penelope. I'm home. I'm finally home. She descends further, studies him, suspicious, cautious. 20 years is long enough for imposters, for tricks, for false hopes that destroy you when they break. She thinks, tests him. Welcome home, husband. The servants will prepare our bed, move it to a different chamber, somewhere more suitable for a king. Odysseus stares at her. Move the bed? That's impossible. You know it's impossible. I built that bed myself. Built it around a living olive tree. The tree is the bedpost, one leg rooted in the earth. The bed cannot be moved unless you cut down the tree. And if you've cut down the tree, if you've destroyed what I made, then it's really you, Penelope interrupts, her face breaking, crumbling. 20 years of control, of strength, of holding everything together alone. It all falls away. Only Odysseus would know that. Only my husband. She runs to him across the blood-soaked floor, not caring, not seeing anything except him. She throws herself into his arms. He catches her, holds her, both of them weeping, both trying to believe this is real, that it's finally over, that they've actually survived. Outside, dawn breaks over Ithaca, light streaming through the windows, warm, golden, real. 20 years. 20 years of war and wandering and suffering. 20 years of losing everything and somehow continuing anyway. 20 years of holding on to hope when everything suggested hope was foolish. But Odysseus has come home, and the journey, finally, mercifully, impossibly, is over. The story is finished. Odysseus and Penelope stand together in their home, surrounded by the evidence of what it costs to get here, surrounded by the price paid, but together, finally together. Outside, the world continues. The sea still crashes on the shore. The wind still blows. The sun still rises and sets. Life continues as it always does. But for now, for this moment, there's peace, hard-won, blood-bought, but real. Rest now. You've traveled with Odysseus across wine-dark seas, through storms and monsters and trials beyond counting, through loss that would break anyone, through suffering that should have ended him. But he made it home, against all odds, against divine will, against fate itself. And you've made it to the end of the story. Let yourself rest now. Let the tale fade. Let your breathing slow and deepen. Let sleep take you gently, kindly. Tomorrow, the world will still be there. Your responsibilities will wait. Your life will continue. But right now, in this moment, you can rest. You've earned it. Home. That's what Odysseus sought for 20 years. And home is what you have right now. Your bed, your comfort, your peace, your safety. Stay there as long as you need. The story is finished. The journey is over. The long wandering has ended. Sleep well. Sleep deeply. You are home.